Taylormade TP5 So the new Taylormade golf ball, we're going to test it. So it's got this funky pattern on the ball for lining up and other ideas. They call it clear path alignment. We're going to give it a test. I'm going to present the data similar to I did with my Strixon ball test. I've hit a lot of shots with this ball with 3 different disciplines, or 4 different disciplines. I've hit 9-yard chip, 5 different disciplines, 6 actually if you take it out on the course. So what I've done, 9-yard chip, 100-yard wedge shot, 7-iron approach, driver, putting, and I've taken it out on the course as well. This should be a fun one. Let's get stuck in. So what are Taylormade saying about this ball? Let's start with their comparison between TP5 Pix, TP5X Pix, so the 2 balls. So you like all the top range balls, they generally have the 2 iterations of the same idea. I love golf ball boxes, they're always quite fun. So TP5 Pix, they're both 5-layer golf balls. Ball speed, it just says faster for both of them. It's faster. It doesn't say faster than what, but it's faster. The cover is soft, tough, cast urethane on both. Playability, so the TP5 Pix is workable, where the TP5X Pix is piercing. So I presume by that we're going to see a different spin model with the 2 balls, I'm guessing. Launch, high with the X, mid with the TP5. Feel, so softer in the normal one, and the X basically is harder. Again, that's similar in all the brands of their 2 iterations. Wedge spin is going to be higher with the softer one, TP5, and then it's going to be high with the TP5X. Now, and also we've obviously got this funky pattern on it, which you can see all the way around, these kind of diamondy shaped patterns. So what they're saying about these, better visibility, also better alignment. So you can get this ball lined up in a way where you start see it kind of rolling. It almost creates straight lines, which we'll try and show you in the video. It's quite hard to point out. So basically this idea here, they kind of start to blend and create lines as they roll. On first initial test, just like having a go in here with my putter, like that was quite smart. I got that, I thought that looked quite good. But let's explain what that means. Let's show you some of the tests. Should be a fun one. TP5 first, then X second. See how it feels with the driver. Down on the tee it looks fine, like you don't really, the patterns I wouldn't use at this stage, or they don't really put me off. And that sounds, again, that's a good line if that's got over. It's my driver I hear kind of more than the ball. Let's see if I feel a difference with the X then. Slightly different strike. That one will be short, a bit more on the bottom. Louder sound with my club. I mean, you'd imagine this ball is the louder sounding ball. Club, me. Let's find out. Right, going to play both shots from here. So TP first, then TPX always second. Let's see if we can feel a difference in the wedge. This is very hard to stop this ball on this green as well. That is a nice feel. Oh, I've hit that, wow. Sit. So hard to stop there. Straight downwind, straight onto a downslope. And then with the X, any difference in the feel? Oh, a little bit maybe, but they're very close. And the thing that happens when you get out here with the wind blowing, all the elements, the birds, things just sound different. There's more interference with what you think is feel. Couldn't tell the difference between those 2. Stopping distances as well, I mean they're almost exactly the same. Let's show you. So this is the X, and I've done a really good shot with the TP5. Again, they stopped subject to where I landed them. They felt very similar. I'm looking forward to seeing the data if there is any difference. Often in people's top line balls, when you get these, the X and the normal version, they're just it's tiny differences, tiny differences. Should we take a look at the 9-yard chip that starts off? So what you can see from the 9-yard chip is the TP5 is spinning considerably higher than the TP5X. It's definitely a jump, both relatively tight in their spin, fractionally better in the TP5, but I'd probably say that's me more than the ball, but it's spinning a nice amount more. So if it's around the greens, those kind of chips, checky chips that you're all about, TP5 on that test looking good. Now if we move to the 100-yard pitch shot, again we're seeing the same pattern. TP5 spinning considerably more than the TP5X. It's amazingly noticeable actually. That's quite a big jump between those two balls, maybe compared to other iterations of other, like your Titleist and your Srixons and those kind of things. You know, it's 10,000 to near a 9 with the X over the standard. So again, if you want that control with spin, it's the standard TP5 ball, isn't it? Let's try a 7-iron. TP5 then X for the second shot. Feels nice, as expected. Like nice sound. Doesn't feel too clippy. Is the X going to feel different? Oh, again, there's such little in that. I reckon if I didn't know which ball I was hitting, I wouldn't know which ball I was hitting between them. It's a fraction louder in the X, possibly. So if we go to the 7-iron shot next, you're seeing the TP5X is going higher. It's got much higher peaks, and its standard is higher than the TP5. So if you're losing a bit of height when you get into your mid irons, that little bit more height out of TP5X is there. I can see it's a tiny amount, but it's definitely going out there a little bit higher than the standard TP5 ball. Then if we move to the spin on the 7-iron shots, again, the spin's just noticeably higher in the standard TP5X in these Pix balls. In the TP5 in the Pix. The TP5X, again, spin is noticeably lower. One outlier there getting up high, but as a general rule, they are lower spinning balls. It's almost like the TP5 is kind of like the X is where I always remember this ball when it was launched as this like low spinning ball, and then the TP5 is kind of jumping into that standard bracket of players ball. To be honest with you, it's doing pretty good. And then with the carry on the 7-iron, what's interesting is because it's a little bit higher, lower spinning, there's the extra carry that you get out of the 7-iron. So you can see the TP5X is moving out there that fraction further. Again, with all these balls, it's horses for courses. It's what you want. Do you want that extra distance, or do you want that different control that you might get from the spin? Obviously, you've got to remember in a 7-iron, you're going to have land angles that play their part. So you might not need the highest spin when it comes to the 7-iron, but then you might not want to give it away in that lower part where you're hitting 100-yard approaches, 80-yard approaches, 9-yard chips, where you might want to maximize spin because you're getting short-sided a lot. Definitely you could see the TP5X in this Pix ball. If it's distance you're after, the low spinning on the 7-iron, it's giving you more distance. Right, straight downwind, TP5 first, X second as usual. Should get close, if not on this green, if I get a good contact. Oh, which I have. Get on there. A nail. Same with the X. Hard to tell the difference on those first two tee shots. Pitches as well, didn't really feel anything. Oh yeah, they're equivalent hits. Oh, a fraction louder possibly. Man, that is so hard to tell between those two. Both feel good. Now if we move to the driver, interesting switch. So the driver is now lower. This is the height of the drivers. You can see the tighter dispersion in the X, TP5X, it's tighter dispersion, where the TP5 there was more of a range of heights of shots. I could have had a bigger data collection in the driver. It's just, it's harder to do because you're hitting so many shots. Fatigue plays its part, so I try not to hit too many compared to the other shots. But it's a test I would like to do more of to see if that continues and stays out there. But it's definitely lower in the TP5X, where the TP5 is going a little bit higher in the driver. So they've now switched from the 7-iron to the driver, haven't they? Spin with the drivers, we see them getting closer. Fractionally lower spinning in the TP5X in the Pix ball. A little bit higher and obviously in the standard TP5, but really, really close on those. And this is what you kind of expect when you get to these kind of premium balls, when you get to the less oblique hits where it's more of a rebound, so your smash increases, or your efficiency if you're a quad guy. What happens is they start kind of evening out a little bit. So when it comes to spin, there's not one that would really make me choose there, apart from obviously if you're a high spin player and your driver, you might go towards the X, but it's 200 revs at the, you know, it's such a small amount. You're going to find bigger gains in fixing your issues of why you're a high spin ball or high spin player with a driver than looking at this route as a help. And then we move finally over driver carry. And again, we sit very even, that slightly lower spin with the drivers, giving it that fraction extra distance. What's interesting is the longest of all the shots was hit with TP5. Again, a bigger data set would show a little bit truer, but then the shortest shot hit with all of them was the TP5X. But even on average, the TP5X was that fraction longer, coming from that lower spin and possibly that slightly lower height. I think it was in the driver as well, wasn't it? Which for me, I can get the driver going up a little bit higher. That might be something I buy into out of these two balls.
So TP5, here's TPX, just going to bring it into the same spot to hit a couple of chips.
The second drive was a little bit further right, so just caught up in the rough back here. Let's try a couple of chips again, see if there's any feel. Do we see any stopping power in the short stuff? Down chipping coming along, people. So the X there, you did hear a bit more of a clip. So the second chip was with the X, and I did feel that slightly louder sound off the face. Again, not much in it, but it was slight. We're going to do the putting back at my home garden, because I've got the putting green to control everything, to show you what these balls can do when it looks at putting those kind of ideas. So when it came for putting, the X compared to the standard TP5 Pix ball, the X definitely felt firmer. You know, you could hear that clip, exactly what you would expect from these kind of iterations of balls. The lining up system, and I'm not a massive fan of lining up lines, I just think it's time consuming, and I'm not sure people are even that good at lining them up. So offers maybe another layer of confusion to some people, but for some people it really helps. You see people doing it on tour and what have you. I also think if you're having a few shots out there, spending time lining it up as well could be out there hours, couldn't you? But as lining up systems go, with the putting, totally stands out and is smart and clever. I like what they've done with that. It's really quite smart. I didn't see this as a higher visibility ball. I'm as blind as they come, and I didn't see this helping me in any other way. Just not on putting, obviously. I can see him putting, thank God. But when I was out there, just relationship to that, they talk about on the box it being better visibility. Not sure I was seeing that. Both felt good. If you want that clippier ball, the X does it, and if you want that standard softer feel, definitely TP5 did it. They fell into the bracket of premium ball where you get that slightly different feel across the two, and I felt like I could honestly putt with both of these. I would probably choose not to use the line-up line. I think a little bit, if you're not using the line-up line when putting, it's a bit annoying having all this on your ball. It's actually a little bit more off-putting than helping. So if you're a line-up player, this is great. If lining up annoys you, this is going to really annoy you. So yeah, let me know what you think of this system. Would it be something you use or not? I thought it was clever for the putting. I could really see it helping people who do use the lines. One little footnote, I was disappointed with how these balls weared and teared. So they struggled. And I tried to use, I got a dozen of each, and I tried to mix the ones I used. I didn't just hit one ball, but it was getting lots of paintwork. So the white and the other colours, and I've got a picture which hopefully we'll show you, maybe we'll bring it up in the edit, of what was on the face, and it shocked me. It made me feel a little bit like, you know, those balls you buy when you're on holiday from the geezer who shouldn't be selling them. So I was disappointed with how these wore. I thought they were quite poor. Post comments down below if you game this ball, how are you finding it? You know, is it just the batch I had, or is it something you're finding as you game them that they are wearing out maybe quicker than other balls? Because obviously the more graphics you put on, the more chance you're going to see the wear come off a bit quicker, because I think they're just starting to really fade. But I'd love to hear. I was a bit disappointed in that. At the end of the day, those balls perform well. I do like the line-up lines. I think it's a little overkill, but Taylormade's quite good at overkill. But I could see some people really getting into those lines and it helping them. I'm not a massive using lines on the balls, those kind of thing, kind of a player. So arguably, I'm going to be the most critical of that. I think it's very clever. I like what they've done, and it makes sense and it's clever. And if I was someone who did use the line, I think that would win over for me than just using that one line of the lineup of the logo. So I think it's a good ball. I just feel maybe a fraction like there's too big a divide in these two balls. I would like to see them a fraction closer in some spins and heights and those kind of things, but I understand why they're there, because, you know, there are plenty of people in it too high and spinning it too much, and plenty of people who want more spin and those kind of things. It kind of does what it says on the tin, apart from we got the heights a little bit confused on a couple of them. But for all in all, that is, as premium balls go, that is pretty good. What do you think? Post comments down below. Would you use this ball or not? Which one would you go for and why? Have you done extensive ball testing or not? There's loads you can learn about your own game if you do ball testing this way. I do think ball testing is done a little bit too casually, which is why it's never really picked up. But then the counter argument to that is that if you want to do a ball test properly, I mean, I've done this over almost 2 weeks with the amount of shots I've been hitting. So I do small amounts each day where I flick between the two balls. So I don't go and hit 30 of these and 30 of them. I hit 1 or 2 of these, 1 or 2 of that, flip them on at the back, 1 or 2 of those ones, and I keep repeating it over different days just to try and get bigger data sets and fairer ones. And obviously lots of people haven't got the time to do that over something that's relatively a kind of impulsy buy, isn't it? But comments down below, let me know. Do you want me to do other ball tests? I'm quite keen to do all the premium balls from each manufacturer in one big, huge test. Let me know if you want to see that down in that comment section down below. And as always, stay safe. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.